spending a lot of time in the city and then coming back to the village on weekends and things like that. That's what I remember. I remember the structure of their lives, what it was all about. But as far as the details are concerned about who did what and where exactly, I don't know, because I don't know the place names anymore. I've forgotten all the place names they used to talk about, and who lived where and who was educated where and all that. When you look at a map of Turkey there, where there's a big city, that's where they had their educations, because the men always were educated in my mother's side of the family.
Erzurum.
Erzurum was the big city where they had their connections and all that. But the village was Arik.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they had their ancestral homes and lands that they had.
So what did she used to talk about her father? You said you thought he was maybe some kind
My
of...
grandmother's father.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember which one was the medical person and which one was the sheriff.
Oh. No, the sheriff was...
My mother's father
was the sheriff, right. So your grandmother's father was in the medical field?
Yes, he would have been in the medical field. And he had a lot of relatives, as I remember. Because,
well, they were Mooradians.
Yeah, they were the Mooradians. And when I was a child, well, not just a child, even when I was a young adult, my grandmother had relatives in Canada that used to come and stay with her for several days at a time. And they were different kind of people than my father's side of the family, which was where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
That was different.
What were they like?
My mother's side or my father's side?
Your mother's side.
On my mother's side, like for instance, my grandmother's people, they all seem to be soft-spoken, slightly, if I'm not prejudiced, but they used to talk about it because they were lighter complexioned, and they made a big deal out of that, at least in private, if they didn't speak it publicly or make a big deal out of it as far as we children were concerned, because my sisters and I took after my father, and my grandmother was always a little bit snobbish about that, because she felt that her side of the family had come from a higher level of whatever. Anyway.
Higher class of people.
Yeah. And
because they were more educated. But not necessarily they were more educated. They were?
Oh, no, because my father's side of the family were pretty well educated. I mean, my father's uncle, who was my grandfather's brother, my dada was my grandfather, his brother had won scholarships to be educated at the university in Istanbul. When he was only 14 years old, he won.
That was Markar.
Well, Markar was my grandfather, and his brother was the one who won the scholarship. His name was Mesrop.
Oh, yeah, Mesrop.
Mesrop.
Right. I'm corrected.
Mesrop is the one that won the scholarship, and of course that was very highly regarded in the whole village, that he was able to accomplish that, and was sent to the university for something like 7 years. Mm-hmm. He was at the university.
In Istanbul.
In Istanbul, yes. So anyway, as far as my grandmother was concerned, on my father's side of the family, they were socially on a decent level because of the education. But then everybody was educated because my grandmother always said that she and her two sisters were taught to read and write when they were at home. They had tutors because her grandmother, my grandmother's grandmother, wanted the girls to have education just as well as the boys, but the girls didn't go to the schools. They had to be educated privately in their homes. And so my grandmother's grandmother hired a tutor to teach her three granddaughters to read and write. That was the way, you assumed a higher social status than just the ordinary run of people.